What up, guys? The Bench Buddies are back with my MLB Week 6 power rankings. But before we get into it, hit that subscribe down below to be entered into the giveaway. We'll start with the biggest movers. Obviously, you can see on the screen the Twins and the Blue Jays. One's going up, one's going down. The Twins, especially, are moving up. They're on fire. 12 out of the last 13 they've won. Blue Jays, really rough week, and that's why they're moving down. But that's where we start. Now, 30 through 26, four of these five you expect to be here at this point in the season. Then you have the Astros going 3-3 last week, so it didn't really get too much better, but they did beat Cleveland, who is good right now, and Seattle just couldn't pull those out. But they do move up one just because they played a little bit better than the Angels. And then the Marlins, they're moving up two after they swept Colorado, and that means Colorado's going back to 30. And then the White Sox stay at 29. The Rockies and White Sox, maybe the Marlins might be battling for the worst record in baseball this year. 25 through 21. Diamondbacks are a casualty of the bad start to the season. A lot of the pitching staff is hurt, and that is a key part to why this Diamondbacks team is struggling early on. Cardinals, they just really haven't figured it out yet. Then the Giants, I think they're in the same boat. Snell hurts their chances a lot at winning some games, especially in that tough NL West. But he should be back maybe end of this week, early next week, which will be a good sign for them. The Pirates, remember when this team was hot at the beginning of the year? Now here they are already under 500 as their struggles continue. They did get a series win against Colorado at home, though. Maybe that can carry over into that Anaheim series and get them closer to 500, if not 500. Then the A's. This team, who knows what's up with Oakland? They're 17 and 18, a 5-1 week last week. And yeah, it was Pittsburgh and Miami. It wasn't the best competition, but you still got to go out there and perform. Let's see how they play this week. 7 games against the AL West, 4 at home, 3 in Seattle. And if they go 4-3, anything better than that, I think the A's, you might have to start looking at them as maybe a team that could hang around come, July, that could still be in the thick of things and possibly be, going for a wild card spot. 20 through 16. That's where you find the Blue Jays, where I dropped them down 9 spots. Bad week, 2-4. Couldn't beat Kansas City, and then they go on the road to face Washington and couldn't figure them out either. It's not going to get easier anytime soon as they face the Phillies, who are red hot right now, and same with those Twins. Then you have the Mets going on the road. They face Tampa. Didn't really figure it out. They had a good start to the week, going 2-2, splitting a 4-game set with the Cubs, and then go to Tampa and get swept. Wasn't a good look for them. Those Nationals that I mentioned at 18, good week for them. They beat Miami on Monday to finish up their series from last week. Then they beat Texas and Toronto in a 3-game series. So that's why they're moving up a big portion here. But they get Baltimore in a little 2-game series and then 3 on the road in Boston. And it's a good week for them. I really see where this national team stands after a good week for them last week. The Reds and Rays, Reds didn't really have a good week at all, going 1-5. Played some tougher teams, so they're falling back a few spots. For the Rays, that sweep over the Mets carries some weight where they do move up 1 spot. Now, 15 through 11, I think you can really put any of these teams anywhere just because they're that close in record-wise and performance-wise last week. My Tigers, I'm moving them back 1 spot. Good few weeks, winning 4 series in a row, but then getting swept on the road in New York and blowing a game in the 9th, blowing a game in the 7th. It wasn't looking good. They can't score runs, so they're moving back. Red Sox, they're moving back as well with that series loss to Minnesota, and that's just because Minnesota jumped them. Padres making a huge step up after beating Cincinnati and Arizona. Finally a good week for them as they get closer to 500. Then the Royals and Twins, they're battling for the AL Central lead along with the Tigers and the Guardians. They're all very close right now at this point in the season. But the Royals, 3-3 wasn't a spectacular week, so they're falling out of my top 10. The Twins, had that 12-game winning streak snapped on Sunday to the Red Sox, but that's why they're jumping up 10. So they get some tougher opponents this week in the Blue Jays and the Mariners. That Mariners series is going to be a great series. I think we're really going to see how good this Twins team is because, they played Boston, the Angels, and the White Sox 6 out of those 12 games that they won in a row. So the Twins really have it out in front of them now, and we get to see how they're going to fare against better competition. 10 through 6, you get those Mariners that I was just talking about. Good week for them, beating Atlanta and Houston at home. They get Minnesota and Oakland as they go on the road, and they're cracking the top 10. Brewers and Cubs, they fall back a few spots after a mediocre week, but Brewers have a tough schedule, at least to start. 3 on the road against Kansas City, come back home against St. Louis in a good divisional matchup. And then same for the Cubs, 3 at home against San Diego, which will be a good series, and 3 on the road in Pittsburgh, which will be a good divisional matchup this early in the season. The Rangers at 7, bad start to the week, but a good finish. Getting beat in the series against Washington was a little bit of a head scratcher, but they took 2 out of 3 against Kansas City in Kansas City. Speaks volumes to this Texas team and how they're starting to figure it out. But the road trip continues. They get 4 in Oakland and 3 in Colorado until they return home. And then the Rangers, if they can probably go 5-2, anything better than that, I'd say chalk it up as a success just because of how bad how bad the Rockies are, and then Oakland floating around 500. Then you have the Guardians, team that's, ran away with the AL Central for the first 2, 3 weeks, and then now they're slowly hanging around. Still a very good record at 22-12. They're falling because they lost in Houston and then 2-1 against the Angels, but it's a big week for them. 3-game set against the Tigers is going to be a big series for seeding wise early this year in the season. Then 4 on the road in Chicago, and they got to win at least 3 of those 4 to really keep pace with all these other teams. Now 5-1, I think you can make the case for all these teams at being 1 or at being 5, just depending on where your loyalty stands. But for this week, I'm moving the Orioles up from 5-1. 6-1 week. They beat the Yankees in a series at home. Good start. Then they go on the road to face Cincinnati and sweep them. And I mean, you could argue that Philly could be at 1 as well, just because based off of this week. And same with those Dodgers in a big series and who they beat. But Dodgers, 5-1. Only loss was to Arizona this week. Beat Arizona 2 out of the 3 in Atlanta in a sweep. Phillies, same thing, 5-1. Beat Anaheim on the road, swept San Francisco at home. Then it's just, the Yankees and Braves, I feel like, had to fall just because of, they lost 2 series, or at least 1 series for the Yankees, 2 series for the Braves. Bad week for the Braves. So that means the Braves are going to come back next week. More than likely go 5-0 because that's Braves baseball, how they always do. But I think right now, these are probably your 5 best teams to win a World Series, I would say, as well. I just think the only way that, one of those AL teams, the Orioles or the Yankees, don't is if they get in each other's way at this point. But that's going to be it for this week's Power Rankings. Make sure you check back next week to see where your favorite team ranks. But until the next time, the Bench Buddies are out.